What's going on, box fans? Julian Williams with The Distance. I'm here to give you my number 2 of my top 5 series for my Manny Pacquiao fights. My number 5 was Manny Pacquiao versus Ladabwa. My number 4 was Manny Pacquiao versus Ricky Hatton. And my number 3 was Manny Pacquiao versus Marco Antonio Barrera. Now, my number 2 occurred last year, last June. At the moment, Floyd Mayweather Jr. had just announced his retirement. And the number 2 pound for pound best fighter was Manny Pacquiao. So now it was time for a new era. There's going to be a new fighter in the top, who in the rankings was the top 10 pound for pound fighter. So now Manny Pacquiao's on top, and he's in there, and he's clearly, he's moving up to lightweight. And he's up there, and he's getting ready to make a statement against David Diaz, who many, including myself, thought was was probably the weakest champion at 135, because at the time you had Nate Campbell and Joel Casamayor. They both were champions, and then there was David Diaz, who I thought lost to Eric Morales. It was a close matchup between Diaz and Morales, but I thought it should have either been a draw or a 1-point decision for Morales, in my opinion. But a lot of people see it otherwise. But Eric Morales was the man that beat Manny Pacquiao in recent years, the only person to beat him in recent years. So now this is going to make this matchup a bit more intriguing, because now you have somebody who defeated Eric Morales, who either way was past his prime, and you have the man that lost to Eric Morales in the first time, but then defeated him later on and avenged that loss. So on to the matchup: David Diaz versus Manny Pacquiao. This matchup was very one-sided. Manny Pacquiao moved up to 135. And this is his first and so far his only fight at that weight. He moved up to 135, and he just looks stronger. David Diaz comes forward, and he comes forward. Sometimes he moves around, but in this matchup, he was just catching all kinds of shots. He was the whole matchup. It was just a 9-round massacre. 9-10 round massacre. I don't remember when the matchup ended, but I remember Pacquiao just kept beating him to the punch, and he just kept throwing flurries and hitting Diaz flush on the chin, and Diaz couldn't even defend himself from those shots. And then at the very end of the matchup, Diaz just fell forward because he took so much punishment in that matchup. And on top of that, in the matchup, Pacquiao just kept coming in the same way. He came forward, threw his shots, and then moved back, and came forward again, threw some more shots, and then moved back. And it was very impressive, because some people weren't even. At the time, people knew Manny Pacquiao could move up to 135 and do well. And at the time, it looked like 135 was going to be a very deep division, because you had Nate Campbell, Juan Diaz, Juan Manuel Marquez was about to move up, Joel Casamayor, Michael Casitas, and the flawed Edwin Valero. He was moving up as well. So this is bringing more intrigue to the lightweight division. And on top of that, Manny Pacquiao is now the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world, and he proved in this matchup. He proved in this matchup that he was the top fighter in the world, and that now he's unstoppable, because hey, I'm moving up in weight, and 2, I'm the champion my first fight moving up in weight again, because he did it at 126 against Marco Antonio Barrera, and now he's moving up and he's fighting David Diaz, about 9 pounds heavier than he was like 5 years before, and he decisively defeated David Diaz. And it was a massacre. David Diaz couldn't really defend himself. He was just catching shots, and it was just one-sided. And I think that it's I'm gonna put this at number 2. I think it's one of his best victories, even though we all consider David Diaz to be somewhat of an overmatched opponent for Pacquiao, but you have to admit, he was a champion, and this was his first fight. It's the number one pound for pound best, so it brings a lot of significance to the victory, and just the way that he destroyed David Diaz. He didn't even fight for a year after this matchup, so it says a lot about what this matchup did to David Diaz. And he did come back and fight Jesus Chavez like last September, but now it's a lot different. Because he was like the number, I believe he was like 3 or 4 ranked at lightweight, and Pacquiao, all of a sudden was ranked at number 1 after that decisive victory. But anyway, that was my number 2 matchup. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for my number 1. Anyway, that was the distance. Thanks for watching.